I've been living in New York working as an actor, director, and playwright for basically 25 years when I decided that I needed to change. In my fantasy, I suppose, I imagined I'd have a completely different life here. You know, a construction worker, or one of those men, that work on that high wire thing, with the hard hat, that sweeping sort of hat, and the chaps. But that didn't work out, and I guess I realized that drama was in my blood. So, and I had to make use of that. So I offered my services to the local high school, and they accepted. And within 6 months, I produced the Blaine Community Players. My first production was Barefoot in the Park. It was an absolute smash, but it was my production of Backdraft that really got them excited. This in-your-face theater really affected them. The concept, the conceptualization, the abstractness, the whole obtuseness of the production was, to me, what was interesting. I wanted the people to feel the heat of the fire and the fear, because people don't like fire poked in their faces, like when you get that cinder from a barbecue on the tip of your nose and you make that little face like, that's not a good thing. So I had someone roll up some newspaper and burn it and send it to the vents, and of course they freaked out and they sent the fire marshal over, and they shut us down for a couple of days. I'm feeling really good about where we stand with our cast now. The elements, as Dr. Watson said to Sherlock, are coming together, sir. I'm really excited about Ron and Sheila, the old standbys, the workhorses. I called them once Blaine. Alan Pearl. Where do these people come from? I've seen them around town, but it would never have occurred to me to go up to the dentist and say, hey, are you interested in this sort of thing? But I was shopping for my wife Bonnie one day. I buy most of her clothes. And Mrs. Pearl was in the same store, totally by accident. And we started talking about pantyhose, and she was saying, well, whatever, that's not what the point of the story is. But what the point of the story is that, through this accidental meeting, it's like a Hitchcock movie, where they throw you in that rubber bag and toss you in the back of a trunk, you meet people. And so, we found him. Is it karma? Maybe. I don't know. But we found him, and that's the important thing. And I bought my wife a lovely new pantsuit. Casting a production is merely the beginning of the process. There's the whole design concept, the lighting, will this fabric work with the costumes? It really becomes a wrestling match, with me and the muse of theater, and dance. The Guffman news is big. And I truthfully don't think that the cast realizes how big. They don't know the New York thing, they haven't been through it, and I have. So it's kind of on my shoulders. Going to the Big Apple for the first time is such a big experience. You never forget it. It stays with you your whole life. I mean me, right out of the Navy, fresh off a destroyer, with a dance belt and a tube of chapstick, nothing much to call my own, and then slammed down, for 10 or so years off Broadway, and then enough is enough. I get the joke, Is that going to happen again? I don't know. I hope not. In my deepest of hearts, I hope that doesn't happen again. Mr. Guffman brings with him a reputation, something bigger than this town has ever seen. And if I'm going to get back to New York on my terms, I can't deliver him a stinky product. I have to present him with a package. a beautiful, wrapped, glossy, sweet-smelling show. Well, in a funny sort of way, what the city council did was give me a challenge. You know, like in the olden days when in France, when the men would slap each other with their gloves, you know, they'd say, "D'Artagnan, how dare you speak to me that way, you," and just smack them. Well, the first thing I did when I got back to New York was look up Mr. Guffman. And he was so sweet, and I think he was a little guilty too, because he offered me the chance to audition for his new Broadway show, which is a revival of My Fair Lady. And it's one of my favorite shows. And the part is of that of Henry Higgins, the somewhat stern taskmaster, but he really likes her anyway sort of guy. And he's teaching Eliza how to speak correctly, and she, of course, is of the Cockney persuasion and drops her H's. And I've been working on that at home, you know, the whole Cockney thing of, "Hello, how are you? Would you like to go to Hartford? Not live in this L-ool." And I think I'm really starting to get it, you know, I'm kind of honing in on it, you know. And I guess the cake and eat it too part of this whole story is that another dream of mine has come true. I've been able to open this shop, you know, with my showbiz treasures and memorabilia. But here's one of my favorite parts: is my dinner with Andre action figures. You know, you can recreate that whole scene. You know, where the guys are talking to each other and they're like, "Oh, I'm so glad that you found such a good restaurant. You know, it's so hard these days. Who do you know?" "Oh, no one. I just made a call. You know, spur of the moment. You know, just made a call." "Oh, you can always get a reservation." I mean, that's not from the movie, but you can make up your own dialogue, which is what the wonderful thing about action figures is. What I want to get, you know, and it's very rare, is the action figures for Das Boot, you know, because I like doing that whole claustrophobic thing in the submarine, you know, Das Kande, you know, that whole German thing. I don't speak German, but, you know, it sounds like a bunch of barnyard animals, you know, muck, 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 you know, making that noise and sweating. And over here is my big heads, I call them. That's Anthony Michael Hall, one of the Brat Packers. And back there in the background, that's Andrew McCarthy. And then over here we have this is something new we've got in, and it's the remains of the day lunchbox, you know. And the kids are having such a good time with this. You know, kids don't like to eat lunch at school, but if they have a remains of the day lunchbox, a whole lot happier.